German club Arminia Bielefeld were founded in 1905 and have 2 Bundesliga 2 titles and 1 Liga 3 title to their name. Their most successful periods came in the 1920s, the early 80s and mid-2000s, but after 2 successive relegations, they now find themselves in the 3rd tier of German football. In today's video, I'm taking over Arminia Bielefeld for 5 seasons on FM24 to try and get the club back into the Bundesliga and hopefully finish higher than 8th place, which is the highest finish in their history. Season number 1 could be tough as we have nothing to spend in the transfer budget, and we have quite a small squad with 5 loan players making up the numbers. Despite this, the supporters are expecting us to reach the Liga 3 playoffs, but the board aren't piling so much pressure on me, as they are only expecting a top half finish. Now, we do have a number of good young players coming through the youth system and good training facilities and good youth facilities, which will do as well as we get through this rebuild. But for this season, I'm gonna have to look into the free transfer market to see if I can do any business. So it was difficult to do any business this first season with no transfer budget and not much in the wage budget. I've managed to bring in 2 free transfers. The first of these is Max Kulk, who plays at left back, right back, can cover in the midfield as well. Spent last season at Dynamo Dresden in the 3 Liga, so he already knows the division. And the second free transfer I managed to get over the line, Nuno Sarpe, plays in defensive midfield. That's what I've bought him for. He's got good aggression, good work rate, decent pace about him. He can step up into Division 2 should we get promotion in this first season. So this is the tactic I'm using for season number 1, and if a quick pick without restriction, Sarpe and Kulk go straight into the starting 11. So let's simulate season number 1 and see how we do. So season number 1's over. We finish in 4th position, missing out on a playoff place on goal difference. 1860 Munich get that playoff position. We were just 4 points off 2nd place. Knocked out in the 2nd round of the DFB Pokal by Union Berlin. Not a real shock there, as they are a good Bundesliga side. And if we're looking at the schedule, we had a really poor end of the season. We picked up in the final 3 games, and that last game came against 1860 Munich. A win there would have seen us take a playoff position. We could only manage a 1-1 draw. If we look at where the goals have come from, Fabian Klos with 29 goals throughout the season. He was top scorer in the division, but he's 36 now and his contract's running out. So whether I give him another year or not remains to be seen. Bianchedi was a 2nd highest scorer, the winger with 11 goals and 9 assists. But after that, there's not many goals coming throughout the team. That's something I'll need to look at as a strengthen in the transfer window. As well as Klos, all the other loan players are heading back to their clubs. So I'll have a lot of business to do in this window. However, the board have given me 570,000 to spend this summer, so I'll have to see what I can do in the transfer market. So the transfer business going into season number 2 is done, and we'll start with the transfers out. Just 1 player leaves the club this summer. Tom Geerkens goes to Al Hazam in Saudi Arabia for 300,000. I didn't really want losing, but I couldn't say no to the money coming in. Now let's move on to the transfers in. I brought 2 keepers into the club. Jacob Buss comes in from Bundesliga side Union Berlin on a free transfer, and Kai Eisel joins him as backup from German Bundesliga 2 side Karlsruhe. Now I needed to strengthen the back line for season number 2. So Brazilian central defender Arthur comes in on a free transfer from Maltese side Star Lucia, and he'll be joined at the back by Cypriot attacking right back minus Antonio who also joins on a free deal. Just one more player came in on a free deal, and that was Scottish midfielder Greg Doherty, who joined from English Championship side Hull City. Now, I did spend some money in the transfer window. 83,000 of it went on Liberian midfielder Alan Nagy, who joined from Swiss side Aarau. And despite last season's top scorer Fabian Klos agreeing a new deal with us, he's now 36. I felt like I needed to strengthen the forward line, so I brought in Croatian forward Iver Labanovic for 3,500 from Croatian side Sesvit. As for the tactic, it did as well last season. We just missed out on a playoff place. I've only made a few minor tweaks. The right back position swaps to a complete wing back. We now have a box-to-box midfielder and a deep lying playmaker in the middle of midfield, and the striker changes to a pressing forward. And if we quick pick the team without restriction to see where the new players fit in, Labanovic goes up front, Nagy and Doherty in the middle. Sarpe, who joined last season, had a really good season. He keeps his place in the squad. Antonio goes to right back, with Busk in goals. Backup keeper Kai Asil is on the bench alongside new Brazilian centre-back Arthur. And if we look at where we're predicted to finish, the bookies have got us in 4th place. I hope we can do it this season. So let's simulate season number 2. Fingers crossed we win that promotion. So season number 2's over. This time we go up as champions, finishing on a huge 84 points. We lost just 6 games, drawing 6, winning 26 of our 38 games. We were 3 points clear of second place St. Pauli, who join us in the Bundesliga 2 next season. We were a huge 15 points clear of third place Paderborn, and although we only scored 62 goals across the season, which isn't a great deal, we had the best defence in the 3 Liga, conceding just 25 goals across the whole season. It was a similar story to last season in the DFB Pokal, as we were knocked out in the first round by eventual Bundesliga 2 champions Mainz. Now if we take a look at the stats across the season, Fabian Klos again top scorer with 21 goals in 25 starts. And he seemed to have kept new man Iver Labanovic out for much of the season, as he only started 15 games, scoring 11 goals. Winger Bianchedi hit 10 goals and 7 assists, and new man Greg Doherty hit 4 goals and 6 assists in 32 starts. However, next season's going to be much tougher in the Bundesliga 2, especially with frontman Klos retiring, and I've only been given 395,000 in the transfer budget. The wage budget's gone up a lot, but I think I'm going to have to work some magic in the transfer market if we're to survive in the Bundesliga 2. So there's been a lot of transfer business as we head into season number 3. A number of players left as the contracts had ran out. Christopher Schett joins Wurzburger Kickers on a free deal. Kaito Mizuta joins Yokohama FC in Japan on another free transfer. Left back Samaki, who failed to make an impact last season for us, he joins Wickau in a £14,500 deal. Semi Balkaia joins Tunisian outfit Olympique de Bergerac in a £41,000 move. Midfielder Sam Schreck heads to St. Pauli for £96,000. And Max Kulk, who I got at the start of the first season on a free transfer, heads to Saudi Arabia to Al Riyadh for £200,000. Now let's look at the players I brought into the club. A lot are on free transfers. My hands were tied a little bit with the finances. The first man through the door was Nigel Lonwick, central defender, comes in from Wolverhampton Wanderers. He's joined at the back by Bastien Algier, who joined us from Ulm on a free deal. And I've also strengthened the left back position as talented Israeli left back Ziv Morgan also joins. Into the midfield, David Kinsombi joins from Paderborn on a free deal. Looks Luke's a really good player across the board. And I felt I needed another midfielder as a backup, so Sambo Sissoko joins from Malian side Onzo Creators for 120,000. Two wingers joined the club on free deals this summer. The first of these, Maizien Malide, who joins from Hertha Berlin. And the second winger to join the club was Oliver Meyer, who joined from Dynamo Dresden. Despite the promotion last season, we did struggle for goals, so I've brought in advanced forward Sean Seitz on a free transfer from Erksberger. And he's joined by Maximilian Brunig, who joins from Eintracht Frankfurt in a £250,000 deal. As for the tactic, I've kept it pretty much the same this season, tweaked a few player roles, and if we quick pick without restriction, Brunig goes straight in up front as our number one striker, Maulida and Morgan on that left hand side with Kinsombi in the middle. But we're going to need the strength and depth this season, so we've got a decent bench. Hopefully the team I've got is going to be good enough to keep us in the division. We're predicted to finish in 14th place. That'd do me this season, and we can push on next year. We're in here with some big clubs such as Schalke, Hamburg, Hertha Berlin, so it's going to be a fight to stay in the league. Let's simulate season number 3 and see if we can do it. Season number 3 is over. We've stayed in the Bundesliga 2 with 39 points, 6 points clear of third from bottom 1860 Munich. We won 10 of our games, drawing 9, losing 15. We've done enough to stay in the Bundesliga 2. We end up 30 points away from second place Darmstadt, who go into the Bundesliga with Hertha Berlin, and it was always going to be a tough season. It was always going to be the case, but we got off to a great start, winning the first 2 games. We then didn't pick up a win until October, when we picked up wins against Fürth and Hamburg. It was then a tough run, and we only picked up another 4 wins until the month of April, when we played the teams in and around us. We didn't lose in the month of April, and with just 3 games left to go, we drew 1, lost 6-0 to Hertha Berlin, but won the final game against Dusseldorf. And if we take a look at the goals, and there isn't many of them, I'm going to be honest, Maximilian Brunig, though, he's done his job. He scored 9 goals in 29 games. It's not brilliant, but it's probably kept us in the league. Bianchidi with 5 and 5 assists. The same for Malida. The rest of the goals shared through a small number of the squad, but everyone's counted in saving us this season. As for the DFB Pokal, it was the same old story. It doesn't look like we're going to get a decent run in this 5-year rebuild, as we're once again knocked out in the first round by FC Köln. Despite getting 989,000 in next season's transfer budget, some of that has gone into the scouting budget, and I'm now left with about 440,000 to spend. However, we have no one running out of contract this season, so let's see what we can do in the transfer window. So the transfer business for season number 4 is all done and dusted. With the finances not being great, it was difficult to get players into the club, but I think we've done okay in the end. 5 players leave the club this summer. The first of these was Boujaleb, who goes to Masfei in Morocco for £49,500. Minus Antonio heads out on a free transfer after his contract ran down. Centre-back Arthur joins Wurzburger Kickers in a £40,000 deal. Backup goalkeeper Kai Essil joins Al Khalij in Saudi Arabia for £90,000. And finally, young attacking midfielder Paul Flezer, who joins Weiss on loan until the end of the season in a £2,900 £100,000 deal. Now, it's been a bit of a struggle, but I've managed to get 10 players over the line this summer who come in to join the club. The first of these will be #1 goalkeeper Simon Spari, who joins from Floridsdorfer in Austria. He looks a very good keeper for this league and is an upgrade on what we had last season. The second man who come in on a free transfer again, Lee Kavanagh, an Irish central defender who joins us from Brighton. The next man who came in was Shea Azen, defensive midfielder from Israel, who joins on a free transfer, although I am paying him £11,500 a week. He looks the real deal for the Bundesliga too. Jens Petter Haug also joins on a free deal. The left winger spent last season at Paderborn in the Bundesliga too. They got a third place finish and he scored 9 goals in 26 games from the wing. And the final free transfer we got over the line this summer, Slovenian attacking midfielder Martin Pikar, who joins from Young Violets in Austria and can play either left or right side of the pitch. As I say, I was really struggling for finances this summer, but I've managed to pull off no less than 5 loan deals. The first of these is Max Schultz, a right-sided defender who joins from senior affiliate Bayern Munich, and he's joined by Bayern Munich teammate Adam Asnau, who plays on the left side of defence, Spanish under-21 international, and he was wanted by clubs such as Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, so he must have something about him. Max Schultz will be back up at right back to this man, Luca Luciani, who joins from AZ Alkmaar until the end of the season. He is a new gen, but he looks really good, and I'm certain he's going to do a great job for us in the Bundesliga too. And it'll be the same for the left side of defence, as now will play second fiddle to Jordi Makengo, who joins from Freiburg until the end of the season. Igor Matanovic is the final transfer into the club this summer. Another loan deal, this one from Eintracht Frankfurt, a Croatian striker who has decent attributes across the board and joins Maximilian Brunig and Sean Sykes in the squad up front, so I'm really happy with the depth we've got in the attacking positions. As we can see from the season preview, they've got us at 25-1 for the title, predicting us to finish in 11th place. I think they've underrated us this season. I'm really happy with the signings we've got in. Hopefully we can prove them wrong and finish a lot higher up the table. As for the tactic, I'm keeping it pretty similar to last season, only changing a few player roles, but I really think we've got a lot more quality throughout the squad this season. And if we quick pick without restriction, this is the best 11. Sykes goes in there as a main striker this season. Newman, Haug and Pikar on the wings. Doherty and the G still in the centre of midfield, with Newman, Azen sitting in that anchor role. Lone players Luciani and Makengo go into the wing-back positions. Oppie and Golk in the centre of defence, with new goalkeeper Spari as a #1. As I say, the bookies have only got us to finish in 11th place, 25-1 for the league title. I think we can do much better, so let's simulate season number 4 and see how we do. So season number 4's over, but before I go over what took place during the season, just before the transfer window closed, I was able to do a little bit more business. Oliver Mayer joined Hansa Rostock for $275,000. Sissoko and Labanovic went out on loan until the end of the season, and I was able to bring in Dimitrije Kamenovic, who joined from Lazio after his contract ran down on a free transfer. As for the story of season number 4, I said at the start the bookies had underrated this team. It turned out to be the case, as we're promoted into the Bundesliga on 63 points. We finish in second place. We go up ahead of Nuremberg on goal difference, scoring 5 more goals than them. We lost just 5 games across the season, winning 17. We drew a hell of a lot of games, drawing 12, but it doesn't matter as we're promoted promoted to the Bundesliga. And a big part of why we're heading to the Bundesliga next season is the 17 goals from on-loan striker Igor Matanovic as he finishes second in the top scorer charts for the division. It wasn't just the Bundesliga 2 that we overachieved in this season. Despite getting knocked out in the first round every other season in the DFB Pokal, this year we went all the way to the final, finishing runners-up. But we did have a much kinder draw this season as we faced 1860 Munich from the 3 Liga in round 1, where we won 1-0. The second round saw us beat Bundesliga side Stuttgart 2-1 at home, before beating fellow Bundesliga 2 side Dynamo Dresden 2-0 in the third round. We then beat Augsburg in the quarter-final, who also had a really poor Bundesliga 2 campaign this year. We saw them off in extra time. We then got a really tough home draw in the semi-final against Union Berlin, but we saw them off to reach a final with a Sean Seitz goal. However, the final against Freiburg was a bridge too far for this team, and despite leading 2-1 in the 86th minute, a 97th minute equaliser from the spot saw the game go into extra time. That wasn't enough, and we were finally beaten 5-4 on penalties. It's been an amazing season overall from this squad, capped off by the 19 goals in 37 games from on-loan Matanovic. New winger Picard had a brilliant season as well, scoring 10 with 8 assists, which is similar to Maulida's record of 10 goals and 7 assists throughout the season. On the other flank, Howe chipped in with 5 goals and 5 assists, and the solid new partnership of Oppi and Kamanovic in the heart of defence made sure that we won promotion to the Bundesliga this season. Now, the aim of this rebuild was to take Arminia Bielefeld from the 3 Liga back into the Bundesliga, finishing higher than the 8th place, which is the highest in their history. However, we have just 1 season left. I'll be more than happy just to stay in the Bundesliga this season, and I've been given just £1.2 million to spend, so let's see what we can do in the window to help this club survive this season. So the transfer business for this 5th and final season is all done and dusted. There's been a lot of comings and goings in and out of the club. We'll start with the transfers out. Nuno Sarpe heads to Alversberg for £200,000. Ziv Morgan heads to Portugal for £185,000. Nigel Lonwick joins Al Shabab in Saudi Arabia for £120,000. Shea Azen heads to Chavez in Portugal for £100,000. Another one to leave the club for £100,000 is Nicholas Mollers, who heads to Braunschweig. Young goalkeeper Jonah Boos heads to Benevento for 25. Ozcan heads to Nacional for 19, and Gerrit Golk and Flisseru head out on free deals. Now the players in, and there is a lot of them, so I'll just skirt over most of these, starting with 2 loan players who have decided to keep on loan this season at the club. The first is Luca Luciani, who was brilliant for us last season, and the second loan player I've brought in is Igor Matanovic, who scored all the goals for us last season, firing us into the Bundesliga. Now the players I've spent money on: first one, Daniel Jefferson, advance forward from Sheffield United, who I'm hoping will bang the goals in to keep us up this season. Left back Jordi Makango joins from Freiburg for £250,000 after he impressed me last season on loan. Czech attacking midfielder Christoph Danek was next through the door in a £58,000 move. And the final player I brought in for money, this time for £57,000, was Mate Radasta, who also joins from the Czech Republic. Now there's a lot of free transfers which I'll just go over quickly. Mario Götze joins. I couldn't say no to him. He's getting on, but he's still a good player to fill in if we get any injuries. Right back Jose Hurtado also joins the club on a free transfer as backup to Luciani. Albanian ball-winning midfielder Yiba Ramadani also joins on a free, as does Timothy Fosu-Mensah, who can play anywhere across the back line. Speaking of the back line, this man joins the club on a free transfer, Ronnie Edwards. He was a great player on last year's FM. I've not played with him this season, but I'm sure he's going to do the job in the heart of defence. Emir Karic joins on a free transfer as backup to Makengo at left back, and I strengthened the right side of midfield, bringing in Mitchell van Bergen on a free transfer. Our first choice keeper for this season was also a free transfer. Fabian Bradlow joins from Stuttgart, who he played for in the Bundesliga last season. And the final transfer I've brought into the squad this summer, this one's my favourite, another free transfer, Ezequiel Barco, left-sided winger, but he can play anywhere across that attacking midfield. He joins from River Plate, and I'm hoping he can set up and score the goals to help us stay up this season. And when we quick pick without restriction for this fifth and final season, all of the new players go into this squad. I just hope it's enough to keep us in the division, and it might take a little bit more than luck to keep us in the Bundesliga this season. The bookies have us firm favourites for the drop, 700 to 1 for the title. They did get it wrong with us last year. Let's simulate this final season, hope they've got it wrong again, and let's finish this rebuild on a high. The fifth and final season of this rebuild at Arminia Bielefeld is over. The bookies get it wrong again. We survive in the Bundesliga, finishing in 11th place, 17 points clear of the relegation playoff. We finished the season on 44 points. We won 12 games across the season, losing 14, drawing 8. We don't get the highest ever finish for the club, but we were just 8 points behind that 8th place finish. I was expecting a real struggle this season. It turns out we survived comfortably. However, there's no repeat of last season's heroics in the DFB Pokal, as we're knocked out in the second round by Paderborn. We faced all the German big boys over the course of the season, and despite heavy defeats to the likes of Bayern Munich, the 1-1 draws to Dortmund and Leipzig stand out as great results in the club's history. We had a really poor end to the season, but I think we were already pretty much safe by that point. And if we take a look at what the squad did this season, new man Mitchell van Bergen was our top scorer with 11 goals in 36 games and 4 assists. Striker Daniel Jebison hit 9 goals and 2 assists across the season. Czech attacking midfielder Krzysztof Danek led the assist charts with 6 assists across the season and a very impressive average match rating. And our overall balance now sits at 31 million, and if I was to carry on this rebuild for one more season, I'd be given a budget of just under 9 million to spend. Despite not achieving the highest place finish in the club's history, which I set out to do during this rebuild, the club is now a far cry from the Liga 3 side I took over. We have excellent training facilities now, but despite my best efforts to convince the board, they wouldn't improve the youth facilities. But overall, I'm really happy with how this 5-year rebuild has gone. So everybody, that's the end of today's video. Despite not achieving the highest place finish in the club's history as I set out to do, we got 2 promotions, we survived in the Bundesliga, and we even got a DFB Pokal runners-up medal. I don't think the Arminia Bielefeld fans would turn their noses up at that. If you've enjoyed watching today's video, please consider subscribing to the channel. That subscriber count is going up. Thank you to everyone who supports the channel. Hit the like button on the video and let me know in the comments if there's any clubs you'd like to see me rebuild next. But until the next time, goodbye from me.